Guys, we're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game because, of course, we are. But I have to start this video in particular someplace very serious, and I like to think that, I just passed the 5-year anniversary of this channel, and I don't talk serious a whole lot. I don't ask for things, but there's something that I have to put out there because it's a very big deal to me. I cannot afford the referees for the Super Bowl. They have been getting too much heat. They are saying that things are getting out of hand. They're having too many things go wrong. So the profile is going up on the game, and they just can't do the pocket change that I've been throwing them in order for them to turn this entire season around for the Chiefs. You would think, Buffalo, New York, there'd be a lot of big money in that game. But guys, they said it was just pittance. There was nobody from the Buffalo side calling to try to bribe the referees for the Buffalo Bills. So it was $40 and, threw in a couple extra bucks. Where do you think that Nico Remigio return came from? I've been talking about the guy for 2 years now. And, you know, throw a few bucks to a referee, let Justin Watson know it's okay to hold here and there, and you spring a big return. So if you want to keep winning, contact your local officials, and we will try to get this thing done. I hear that it is probably going to be a $75 profile in order to get the referees in our pockets for the Super Bowl. Not a lot of money in Philadelphia either. They spend it all on food. But we have a game to talk about. And here's where I want to start this game review. There is, when you take a step back from this game and you discuss the numbers versus watching the game, the Chiefs this season have a very strange capability of making those two entirely divorced experiences. Look at these numbers. The Kansas City Chiefs had 368 yards. The Buffalo Bills had 374 yards. The passing yards, the Kansas City Chiefs had 233, whereas the Buffalo Bills 227. The rushing yards, 135 for the Kansas City Chiefs, 147 for the Buffalo Bills. Yards per play, the Kansas City Chiefs had 5.8 yards per play. The Buffalo Bills had 5.5. On the scoreboard, very close. A field goal win for the Kansas City Chiefs. On the team stats report, very close. Everything here within just a few yards of one another. Guys, did you ever feel that game was in doubt? Never but never did I feel that game was in doubt. The Bills went up a single point, and I thought, it doesn't matter. Maybe that's just because we have seen this song and dance with Josh Allen before. Maybe that is because we have seen so much postseason action from these Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe that's because we have seen so many close wins for these Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe that is just the supreme faith that you have in a coach, quarterback, defensive coordinator combo when they have done as much winning as this trio has done. Maybe it is any of those things. Maybe it is all of those things. Maybe it's some strange mixture of that list. Never did I feel in doubt during the game. I'll be quite honest. I wasn't sold the Chiefs were going to win this one. I had a funny feeling about the Texans game, the divisional round playoff game. But once that kickoff happens, guys, there's just nothing that makes me fret for this team. The next thing I want to talk about here is playoff Pat. Patrick Mahomes Wah wah wooey. Patrick Mahomes now owns the number 2 spot in playoff wins with 17. Took it from Joe Montana, with whom he had been tied prior to that game, though he has 4 fewer playoff losses than those with which Montana ended his career. And he has here's the wild thing. Do you remember how old Joe Montana seemed at the end of his career here in Kansas City? Do you remember how old he felt at that point? Patrick Mahomes has more wins than that guy. The guy who, at the time he retired, had the most wins in NFL postseason history. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The only reason why it seems like Mahomes is struggling to be a someday greatest of all time is because of Tom Brady. Were it not for that one man, Patrick Mahomes would already be undoubtedly the greatest football player of all time, the greatest quarterback of all time. He went 18 of 26 for 245 yards with a touchdown. He added 11 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. We have said time and again that playoff Pat is a real thing, that the games change when the postseason comes, and part of that is Patrick Mahomes is willing to lower his shoulder because he knows it's do or die. Patrick Mahomes is willing to take off and initiate contact because if he doesn't, he might not get to play in the Super Bowl. And he seems pretty fond of playing in Super Bowls. Now, I have the heading there, Playoff Pat is a real jerk. I don't know if there are any comedy fans here. There's a picture of Josh Allen below that, where Josh Allen is indubitably thinking, what a jerk. Norm Stewart would tell jokes in a very strange way. One of my favorite things that he used to do was he would build someone up. So the easy example is Hitler, because he would do this every so often. Did you know Hitler killed millions of people in World War II? I mean, torture and awful stuff. Did you know that he put his own soldiers on methamphetamines? Yeah, methamphetamines and his own soldiers, burned them up basically until they died. Just awful. That Hitler, he was a real jerk. So he would build these people up, right? Hitler, Stalin, serial killers, that has to be how Josh Allen feels about Patrick Mahomes. Is that old joke format, building a bad guy up and then saying, what a jerk. Poor Josh Allen. I don't know what it is. I feel sorry for Josh Allen. He just always looks so sad. He looks like a Hanna-Barbera character that never wins. He looks like a Muppet that is teaching you lessons that you should have done. You should have brushed your teeth. You should have tied your shoes. All of these things. After these games, he's just like Lamar Jackson. Never, like, if Lamar Jackson were my quarterback and this rivalry with Patrick Mahomes were real, I think I would hate Lamar Jackson. Because Lamar Jackson in these postseason interviews after losing to Patrick Mahomes is always like, well, that sucks. Josh Allen looks like suck. Josh Allen looks like he is always holding the weight of the world after these games. Poor Josh Allen. Xavier Worthy. Want to talk about Xavier Worthy for a moment? Xavier Worthy is doing this season exactly what it was that Rashee Rice did last season. Rashee Rice contributed all year, built up a small portfolio of moments until the last, say, quarter of the season. In that last, say, quarter of the season, he took the next step. Rashee Rice started running routes a little deeper than he had been. Started getting a few more targets than he had been. Once the playoffs started, all of a sudden, Rashee Rice was running very different routes than he had been. He was running drag routes across the field. He was running out routes, things that we never really saw him do up until that point. And then, late in the playoffs, Rashee Rice became the man. Rashee Rice ascended to wide receiver number 1. Guys, I submit to you that in an AFC Championship game, leading your team in receptions, 6, leading your team in receiving yards, 85, leading your team in receiving touchdowns with just the 1, you have become the man for this team. And I'm going to get back to a little bit of the wide receivers in a moment here. I just wanted to lead with Xavier Worthy here. He also had 2 carries for 16 yards on the day. Xavier Worthy is, if he continues this, the trend that we saw continued by Rashee Rice into his second year, he could be a real weapon. Could really be one of these characters that defines. So I think it was his final reception. Yeah, it would have had to have been because it was on one of the final drives. The reception that led into the Butker field goal that put the Kansas City Chiefs on top 32-29. I don't know. Maybe this is coaching because he does weigh slightly less than many full-size dogs. But Xavier Worthy on that reception heading to the sideline had a clear, it's easy to say this from the TV, but had a clear cutback lane behind the player who was chasing him out of bounds. And even if you don't make the cutback and score the touchdown, which I think he probably could have, you stay in bounds there and you run the clock down. So just a small coaching point there. Again, maybe they are coaching Xavier Worthy. Hey, don't chance getting tackled if you don't have to. Just go out of bounds, buddy. So maybe that's what's going on there. But Kareem Hunt, it was a tale of 2 games for Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was 17 carries for 64 yards. That is just a 3.8 yard average. Not a terrible average, but not a good average. At times, he looked like late season Kareem Hunt. Late season Kareem Hunt where he just did not have the spark any longer. But at times, he looked like rookie Kareem Hunt. So hopefully this bye week into the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs can get Kareem Hunt rejuvenated. He can get off his feet a little bit, whatever it is that helps him get into super Kareem Hunt mode. That is the Kareem Hunt that we're going to need for the Super Bowl. Without having gone over any of the Eagles' film from this year, I assume that Kareem Hunt will be the best matchup against the Eagles. So I think that Kareem Hunt right now is just a better overall back than Isaiah Pacheco. So not meaning to bring any bad stuff in, any bad juju into the discussion after another AFC Championship victory. Now I want to talk about the wide receivers because there are some interesting trends going on with the wide receivers. I won't talk about Xavier Worthy too terribly much because we just had an entire segment on him, but Xavier Worthy had 54 snaps in this game. That is the most snaps of any of the wide receivers by 11. So if you took Hollywood Brown and put him on the field, Hollywood Brown and Justin Watson's reps added together give you Xavier Worthy's reps on the day. Xavier Worthy is ascending to the number one wide receiver spot for these Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, confoundingly, it doesn't even look close. You had Hollywood, I believe it was 3 receptions for 35 yards. Not even close to what it was. 6 catches, 85 yards for Xavier Worthy, twice the day had by his nearest wide receiver competitor. And adding into that, Travis Kelce did almost nothing on the day. Noah Gray did almost nothing on the day. And I don't say this to criticize those players. I say this because this offense has the ability to spread the ball around to the hot hand, wherever that hot hand may come from. Hollywood Brown, 43 snaps on the day, 3 receptions, 35 yards. Doesn't sound like a lot, guys. It's not an impressive number. That's 600 yard per season pace. So is that the high end of what we thought Hollywood Brown would be? 3 receptions, 35 yards? No. It's kind of where he was probably going to be pegged. It is probably the average game of productivity from Hollywood Brown that you could have banked on coming into the season. So not impressive, no, but kind of what you thought. Juju Smith-Schuster continued to surprise at times, playing his role as tight end number 3 in this offense. It is an interesting niche that they have allowed Juju to set up for himself in this offense. And guys, when he catches that ball and turns, you really do think he is a tight end at best. He at times looked like an offensive guard with that ball in his hands, but made the catch, got the first down. That is what matters there. So Juju Smith-Schuster with tight end number 3 action for 38 reps, the third most reps of any wide receiver in this game. And then all the way down at 4, we had Nuke Hopkins with 12 reps in this game. This makes me wonder if there is an injury that we do not know about. Nuke Hopkins did not get terribly many snaps last week either, got almost no action last week either. So it just, nothing to go on. I have no real reason to conjecture in that direction. But if we're seeing this 2 weeks in a row from Nuke Hopkins, I think it probably tells us something. Is that something that he is having a little bit of a health issue down the stretch? Would not be surprising. I have to say, of all of the players on the Chiefs, I know that the Kareem Hunt redemption arc is a big deal for this team. I know that it is a big deal for the fan base. I know that everyone wants to see Kareem Hunt get his ring this season and be able to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. A better story than that for me is Nuke Hopkins. Nuke Hopkins is a borderline Hall of Famer. Nuke Hopkins is one of the better stories about football you will ever hear. Nuke Hopkins seems to be racking my brain here. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody having crosswords about Nuke Hopkins. Maybe I'm missing something obvious, but it seems like he is just one of these guys, a Larry Fitzgerald type, that shows up to work and just does the work. So perhaps more even than Kareem Hunt, I am looking forward to the Super Bowl appearance for Nuke Hopkins, and hopefully he gets a ring as well. If he gets that ring, I think that you're looking at a better chance for Nuke Hopkins to get into the Hall of Fame earlier. Then you had Justin Watson, who continues with 11 reps, continues to come up clutch whenever he absolutely has to be clutch. And then we have Nico Remigio on the field in the AFC Championship game. I believe his only reps this season to date, his only reps in the past 2 seasons, since he has been an NFL guy, have been the final week of this season against the Denver Broncos. But here he shows up at wide receiver, according to Nick Jacobs, in the AFC Championship game. Maybe this is to give him a pat on the back for being such an incredible kick and punt returner. Guys, we've got the kick and punt returner for the future. I think we have a kick and punt returner for the future that can contribute at the wide receiver spot as well. Moving on to some defensive notes. Not any individual notes here, but I do have some notes on the defense as a whole. In the AFC Championship game, Josh Allen went 22 of 34 for 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. In the regular season, Josh Allen 27 of 40, 262 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. During the regular season, with comparable numbers but an interception, Josh Allen beat these Kansas City Chiefs. In the playoffs, with comparable numbers, 1 more touchdown, and no interceptions, Josh Allen lost to these Kansas City Chiefs. Here is, I know that sometimes I get guff for saying that Andy Reid keeps things for the playoffs. Sometimes I get guff for saying that Andy Reid is not playing the full playbook. I think that is mischaracterized a little bit. What I don't mean is that he's pulling out all of these, he's going to hold all these fantastical plays for the playoffs. Here's what I mean. If you watch a boxing match, if you watch an MMA fight, the fighters will set things up early. They will feint, and they know if I do this, that guy ducks here. So all I have to do in MMA, I do this, I throw a kick at his chin, and it's right there for the popping, right? That's what Andy Reid does. He feints and sets things up in the regular season. That is the only way to explain why Patrick Mahomes has an even better winning percentage in the postseason than the regular season. Patrick Mahomes 17-3, right, in the postseason. His best season on the field was this year, 15-2. 15-1, really. But 17-3 in the playoffs, that is a better winning percentage than he has during the regular season. This is because the Chiefs, as a whole, set things up during the regular season, and they pay them off in the postseason. What that can mean is matchups that they know they can take advantage of, so they'll do it once during the regular season to see if it really is what they think it is. They will feint in that way. By the time the playoffs come, they know this matchup works. We're taking it 3 times this game, buddy. We're sending you home. Moving on, something is up with the run defense. Cook averaged 6.5 yards last night for the Buffalo Bills. During the regular season, he averaged just 2.2 yards. The Texans' Joe Mixon averaged 4.1 yards in the regular season, averaged 4.9 yards in the divisional round. The only real reason to bring this up is that this could be, if it is not a figment of my imagination, if it is not something that is exploitable, if it's not something that is fixable, it could be something which is exploited by the Philadelphia Eagles in another Kansas City Chiefs repeat Super Bowl. You want to play the 49ers twice, now you want to play the Eagles twice. Would have been fun to have seen the Buccaneers for a second time this season. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing that I talk about on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We're creeping up on 2 years consecutive of daily uploads, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.